What's going on, everybody? Got Perry here next to me for a duo review. We haven't done this in a while because obviously there's hardly any movies coming out in theaters for obvious 2020 reasons. And but today we have the biggest film that has come out in theaters, which is Tenet, which is written and directed by Christopher Nolan. And just right out of the gate, this film has been getting a lot of mixed reviews. I've had people tell me that this is their favorite Nolan film, and I've had people tell me that this is just like horrible and this is probably Nolan's worst film. So I went into this with not very high expectations because it was just so divisive. So what about you though, Perry? Like, how did you go into this film?
I never go in with any type of expectation.
That is impossible. You're a liar.
Well, no, I mean, like, obviously, like, if you're familiar with a filmmaker like Nolan, you know the Nolanisms to expect.
Of course.
But I didn't want it to be like, oh, God, it's gonna, like, I didn't go in thinking, oh, you know, Nolan's gonna make a really good movie at best, and that's it, you know? Because I don't want to put a roof on him, you know?
No, that's good.
I just want to go in, like, with like, almost no expectation or, like, very low expectation and see how I'm pleasantly surprised.
I just thought, like, honestly, this really has nothing to do with Tenet, but it just felt really refreshing just to be in a theater, because the last movie I saw in theaters was The Invisible Man, and that was not very good. I don't know. A lot of people liked it. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but that was back in February, so it was really nice to finally go back into theater and watch something that's actually really, like, you know, big, something that's really cinematic, for lack of a better word. I think that it's definitely worth praising Nolan in a way, in terms of him really trying to tackle these more ambitious concepts and tackle these subjects that, again, are not the easiest for most people to grasp, and really make people come out of the theater thinking hard on it and trying to really grasp what's happening. And I like a filmmaker that at least tries to get people to talk about everything that happened in the film. Because the worst thing you can have is you watch a film and you come out completely hollow, and there's no type of, like, film conversation about what you just watched. That to me is a pretty bad experience. But this film is not like that, and Nolan isn't really that type of filmmaker. He likes to make his audience think a lot, and for that I'll give him a lot of praise. And this is a really entertaining film. I wouldn't say this film is boring in the slightest. I guess now, just trying to dive into the film, I'm just gonna say, I found this film to be quite a mixed bag for me. I think there are aspects of this film that really worked, and I thought, like, wow, this is, like, really good filmmaking, especially the opening to this film. Like, honestly, the first, like, 15 minutes or so of this film, I was like, damn, this is on track to being, like, a really, really great film. And then after a while, it starts doing your classic Nolan type stuff. The writing here and there is, I shouldn't even be nice and say here and there, really throughout the film can be quite annoying. I mean, sometimes it works for what it's going for, and then sometimes it just comes off really just lazy and cheesy. And I know one thing that a bunch of people were talking about coming out of this film is that it's like a huge mindfuck type of movie, really mind-bending and incredibly confusing and, like, convoluted type thing. And in a way, like, it is, because, like, I'm not gonna lie, there were plenty of moments in this film where I really didn't grasp fully what was going on. But, like, as the film unravels, like, I started to get a better grip on all the aspects of what was happening. And I think that that's one thing that you have to understand when you're going into this film, is that you might not fully understand everything that's occurring. But I think that, honestly, you can go into this film, watch all of it, not understand, like, more than half of it, and you could still enjoy it. Because there's still aspects of this film that I think people can really enjoy. Like, for me, like, the action is probably one of the better aspects of this film, because I just think that the way it was filmed, you can tell, like, took a lot of effort, a lot of precision, and it's just really, like, a badass thing to watch when you're watching it. It's just really well done. And, like I said, like, even if you don't fully understand everything about this film, I still think you can walk away from it, still finding some enjoyment in it. But, I think I've talked too much. With that being said, before I go too far, I'll let Perry say some things about it.
Yeah, I think me and Carlos are about on the same page on this one, which, not a very uncommon thing, but you'd be surprised we're split on quite a bit of films as well. I obviously don't put Christopher Nolan on a huge pedestal that a lot of, moviegoers put him on, to be honest, and this is a real hot take baby cakes right here.
Got some hot takes coming in right now.
I don't think Nolan's ever made a film that's above an 8 out of 10. I think he's made a couple of great films. He's made a couple of really good films. He's made one particularly terrible film that a lot of people love, Memento.
I haven't seen it, so I can't defend it. I think Interstellar is at least an 8 out of 10. That's my opinion, but that's the only one I would probably give a grade that high.
But yeah, it's not that I don't. It's not that I don't like Nolan. It's just I don't put him on this godlike pedestal that a lot of modern audiences have put him on. Like, yes, he is very. I don't want to. He is consistent, but he does have a couple of outliers. And he does have a lot of issues with writing and way too much expository dialogue. And like Carlos was saying before, I completely agree that that's what Tenet suffers from. Tenet could have been a great movie had it not been from all the expository dialogue.
Yeah. And
some very poor writing decision. A lot of the humor in this film just does not work. There's not a lot of humor in the film, but when the film tries to be funny, it really falls flat.
No, I definitely agree with that. The thing with Nolan is that I think he's incredibly ambitious. Like, I think he's a really ambitious filmmaker. Like, he always tries to set out to do these, like, giant scope type films that tackle these really, like, cerebral concepts that can be really hard for most people to really wrap their minds around. So I give him a lot of credit there to try to make these big blockbuster films that have these huge budgets that tackle films that, you know, have subjects that aren't the easiest to grasp. But I just, like Perry said, like, it's the writing that always seems to drag his movies down a lot. And, you know, it's one thing if when the characters are trying to explain things, like if that dialogue felt more natural throughout the film, then I could really buy into it. It wouldn't be noticeable. I would be really invested in what's happening. But the problem with me is that there are many aspects and many moments in this film where none of the dialogue feels natural. It just feels like two people that are literally written dialogue to try to get the audience to understand what's happening. And it's also, I also think they go back and forth too fast throughout the film. Like, a lot of the concepts are really, like, quickly glossed over. Even though some of them, like, there's concepts that are said throughout the film. But again, like, I think most people are gonna have trouble following it just because of kind of how fast, all the dialogue is. But, yeah, and also just, like, I promise I will talk about more about the positives in a second. But, like, especially in the third act, which I think is, honestly, I hate to say it, but it's probably the weakest aspect of the film for me.
Yeah.
The dialogue there just, like, it was, honestly, it's probably the worst dialogue out of all the film because, not only was it incredibly spoon-feedy, but it was really cheesy at moments. And it was just, like, moments where Nolan thinks he's writing something, like, really clever. And it didn't really feel that way. And for me, it just came off really, really cheesy. And, I know that's kind of like, you know, that might just be my opinion and some other people might think, you know, completely differently than me. But, for me, it just didn't click. Like, I think dialogue could have been written a lot better than that and, not been so incredibly spoon-feedy.
Problem is, not, Nolan's direction because as a director,
for sure,
Nolan is phenomenal. Some of his scripts feels like a first-year film student wrote. wrote some of the dialogue. And I know that sounds overly cruel, but
go ahead and hit that thumbs down. I know you're gonna do it.
I know, like, this is going to be a very frustrating review for a lot of Nolan fans.
But let me just say this. We enjoyed the movie.
Yes,
let's just say that. I know right now we're kind of railing on it and we didn't really make that clear. But we both actually enjoyed this film.
Yeah.
Because we do think that there's a lot going for it. But it's just like, we have to, it's almost natural for us to kind of talk about the things that we didn't like first. Because it's just like the first thing that you want to come out of your mouth, especially when a film like this had a lot of potential and you think that it kind of missed the mark in a lot of areas, at least with the writing, because really the writing is where this film fails completely. Well, not fail completely, but it's really the part where that fails the most.
Yeah.
Because like Perry said, the directing is really solid. Like I think Nolan's direction is really, really good. Apart from the action, if I had to pick another positive, is surprisingly the score.
Yeah.
Because like Perry told me this before going into it, that the person who did the score is Ludwig Göransson. Is that how you say it?
Göransson.
Ludwig
He did
Göransson.
the score for Black Panther and Creed. And I heard that he was going to try to imitate Hans Zimmer.
Yeah.
And that sounded really awful to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna... I've been telling Carlos this all night. I do not like Hans Zimmer scores.
I like Hans Zimmer for the most part, but I think a lot of maybe more of his recent stuff isn't the best. I think you can say that a lot of it he's kind of phoning in. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, I love his score for Lion King, but I noticed like early 2000s and from here on out, that's when he really started phoning his stuff in. It's because with his scores, there's no emotional build-up. Deep Focus Lens said it the best. He goes straight for the jugular. He goes straight for the bombs and the really dramatic, loud brass tones, but there's no emotional build-up whatsoever.
I like the score for Interstellar because I do think there's more of a build-up to that score, but I mean, that's just me. I'm sure that some people think differently. But I think the score for Interstellar was really effective in a lot of ways, but that's the only one I could think of in recent time that I thought was really, really good.
Yeah. But going back to Ludwig Göransson's score, my goodness.
It's actually really good.
Yes.
Like, the score for this is honestly one of the better aspects of it. Like, and I was surprised about it. I thought it was going to be one of the weakest things about it. But it's actually really, really cool. Like, this is a soundtrack that I can see myself just, like, listening to, just, like, when I'm bored or something, because it's actually a really well done score. It's really immersive. It's really intense and really loud. Yeah. And there's moments, and this is not the score's fault. This is probably just like a sound mixing issue. There's some parts where the sound is a bit overbearing. And there's some parts where it's like a stylistic choice, but there's some parts where I don't think it was, and it's just too loud. But the score is actually really, really good in this film. I'm not going to lie to you guys. There were moments in this film where, again, like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I completely understood. There were many moments in this film, especially like in the third act. There's this big third act, like war type scene, or not war, but like battle type scene. And like for a lot of that, like I was kind of just like confused on what was happening and I didn't quite understand it. But like obviously, like as it went along and things started getting revealed, I started grasping it a lot more and started coming together. But I think with this film, guys, like if you're not understanding it at the time, like instead of getting frustrated, I think you should just like try to hang on with it, because I think after a while you would at least get somewhat of a grasp on it. Yeah. And again, like don't watch this film and like try your hardest to completely understand everything, because then you might come out much more frustrated than you have enjoyed it. So just go into this trying to understand like the basic conflicts and just the basic concepts of it, and I think that you'll come out still really enjoying it.
Like I've always said with Nolan's films, like especially Inception, Interstellar, and definitely Tenet, is you can pick apart the internal logic of the film for days, you know? Yeah. But it's Nolan's job as a filmmaker to make us, like the audience, suspend their disbelief. And there were definitely a lot of scenes in this movie where I was just going along with what the movie wanted me to go along with. I wasn't thinking about the internal logic of time travel or what they call inversion in the film. And that's a huge positive. I think that's a huge positive considering, what you want out of a movie-going experience. Because I call Nolan, he is a blockbuster auteur as opposed to just being an auteur.
No, for sure.
And I think with blockbusters, that's really where you need that suspension of disbelief.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And, again, I know I talked about the action, but, the special effects is, I guess it goes hand in hand with the action. Mm. But the special effects is also just really interesting and really well done, in my opinion. Yeah. And all the stunt work, obviously, in most Nolan films is really well done.
Very well shot, too.
Yeah, for sure. The action. There's other parts that I don't think are the best, aren't shot the best, but it might just because of the film editing. And because there's parts where characters are just having a conversation, they're just walking and having a conversation, and there's so many weird edits in between time that I just thought was completely unnecessary.
I can see that.
But as far as the action goes, I think it was really well done overall. And pretty much, and when it comes to the directing, when it comes to film editing, when it comes to the sound, everything really came together. So yeah, as far as the action, special effects, I think if you're going just for that, if you just want to go to see great action, I think this will definitely give you a lot of that. So I
will say, if you're confused about the film, the final shot of the movie, or one of the final shots of the movie, will completely contextualize everything that you just saw. But personally, I didn't really struggle following along with the film, especially since so many things, the plot, beat for beat, the plot was explained to you. Laid out in front of you. Maybe not fully explained as much as people want, but there was definitely so much exposition that we've talked about already. But
there were some things that weren't explained though. There were a few things that weren't explained and were happening in the film, and I don't know if it was just an oopsie on Nolan, or if there was information that was supposed to be implied by something. But, obviously I'm not going to spoil it, but there are some things that I think, I'm pretty sure tons of people will also ask questions about, and be wait, how does that make sense? If they said that they needed to do this, how was this person able to do that? Right. And I think, there are things like that in the film. And also, again, the big third act, battle scene that happens, there's, this one thing that wasn't established that kind of, made me confused for a lot of it. I mean, I guess it was established in a very slight way at some point in the film, but it wasn't done enough to where I think most people are gonna be oh yeah, I totally understand what's happening here. But yeah, I mean, I know that we spent a lot of this video, I don't say talking shit about it, but just kind of giving more honest critiques about it. But just know that I enjoyed this film still. Harry still enjoyed this film still. And I do recommend it. I think this is a film that you should go see, whether it's out in theaters or whether you rip it online, whatever you want to do. But I do think the theater experience was more immersive. It was much more rewarding. But, that's completely up to you. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that go out and see this, obviously. Right. For obvious reasons of everything that's happening.
Yeah, we don't want you to endanger your health just to see a Nolan film. Because obviously we did it just for quality content,
John David Washington's acting was okay. I don't think he was really that great in this film. I'm not sure if it was just the dialogue that was given to him because of Nolan. But either way, I think that he could have done better in this film. He's not bad, but I think he definitely could have been better. Robert Pattinson was pretty great in this film. I think his acting skills and his chops, I think it's obvious now that anybody watching his films can tell that he has loads of talent. But okay, that's really it about the act. Well, I guess the villain character, by the way, which we haven't talked about, I'll just kind of gloss over it. Kenneth Branagh. I thought he was a pretty solid villain in this film. He's definitely, not the most original. He has a lot of, cliche motives and cliche lines that he says in this film that can be kind of cringe every now and then. But overall, I think he's a solid villain. And his acting isn't it's actually pretty good, in my opinion.
Hearing a lot from the online community is that this film definitely improves with the second viewing. And I'm sure maybe I'll like it more upon a second watch. but I don't really have much of a desire to go out to the theater and see it again. Not that I didn't enjoy it, but I'm not rushing back to see it again, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or a Lighthouse or a Parasite, you know. But I'm still gonna have like problems with all the expository dialogue and all of the like unnaturalistic feeling conversations that you know characters have, which is funny using the word characters when it comes to a Nolan film, because Nolan doesn't really write like three-dimensional characters. Like, he doesn't write really like eccentric characters that have a lot of personality to them. A lot of his characters feel like they just serve the plot.
Yeah,
you know?
I can see that.
As opposed to, you know, you're following these characters to see their development. Like, how often do you hear people talk about how amazing Ty Cobb is from Inception?
Yeah.
You just know it's played by Leo, but you don't really think too much about the character himself, you know? Obviously because Nolan's more fixated on plot than character.
For sure.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing. But for me personally, as a film goer, I love films that are more character based than plot based.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the whole like second viewing thing, I just think all the problems that I have with it will still be there when I go watch it again. When you know, I guess I'm not sure if I'm gonna go out in theaters to go see it again at this point. But like, if I see it on Blu-ray or something again, I'm pretty sure all the problems that I have are still gonna be there, because it's in the writing that I just think is just not very good here and there. So I don't think that's gonna change. I mean, if I think that if I watch it a second time, I'll have like a better understanding of it, perhaps. Mm-hmm. Like, I think I'll have a better grasp on the film's concepts and conflicts. I think that's that. I guess that would be a good reason to go and watch it again. But like, I don't think I'm going to really like it all that much better on second viewing, because I just from the first viewing, I think I have a decent enough grasp on most of the stuff that happened, especially the conflicts. But I think if you do like really want to understand every little thing about this film, then sure, you know, go watch it a second time. Hell, watch it a third or fourth time. But yeah, I guess that's all I guess that's all I really have to say about that. But okay, with all that being said, now I think it's time to give our grades.
Yeah.
We kind of talked our heads off about this. So obviously, like, despite all the things that we said about it, all the things that come off a bit on the bad side about the film, I still really, really enjoyed this film. I still think there is a lot going for it. All that being said, I'll give Tenet a 7 out of 10.
Oh, wow. It's funny because right before we started the video, we said we're probably going to have the same grade for this. And we do, because despite the phenomenal direction and the not so great writing, pulling the film in two different directions, which is what happens with a lot of Nolan films, which is what we've already talked about, and this is no different. You know, it's Nolan really a victim of his own style. I hate to say it, a lot of directors hit that point in their career where they are a victim of their own style, and Nolan's no exception. But I'm gonna give.
He's no Inception. I'm just kidding. That was stupid. You're right.
I'm also giving Tenet a 7 out of 10.
That's awesome. I thought you might give it a little lower. Like, I thought you were going to give it like a 6 or a 6.5.
I thought you were, actually.
Nah, I mean, I think it's worth a 7. Again, this film has a lot going for it. I know if you somehow made it through this entire video, which I'm sure, like, the second that we had bad things to say about it, you probably hit the dislike button and got the fuck out. But if you're still here, you know, it's a 7, which means it's a pretty solid film.
Yeah, it's a good film. It's like, what more do you want from us?
It's solid. It's a solid film, so.
We're giving it a recommendation. We're giving it a positive score. What more do you want from us?
And hell, if this is like a good price one day on Blu-ray, like, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
You know? It's something I'd buy, have in my collection, so.
Yeah, I definitely want to watch it again, just maybe not in theaters right now.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if COVID and everything wasn't happening, maybe I would go take the chance to go watch it it again.
Right.
But right now, like, no, I think I'm good. But what's really interesting is that if you spell Tenet backwards, what do you get?
Everyone keeps saying that. You're not the first person to make that joke.
Well, there you go. You heard it for the 100th time. But I guess it's kind of a little clever touch.
Maybe
Nolan.
maybe Nolan thought he was so brilliant when he came up with the title. It's like, oh shit, you know what this is spelled backwards? Ah!
But yeah, that's all we have to say about Tenet, guys. If you really enjoyed our take on it, please give this video a like and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.